Good evening from World Weather Authority. I have a significant update on Hurricane Melissa. Over the last 24 hours, Melissa has undergone another phase of rapid intensification and is now reaching Category 5 intensity. Just as importantly, the projected track has shifted slightly, and that change could have major implications for Jamaica, eastern Cuba, and portions of Haiti. Currently, Melissa is positioned just south of Jamaica. Satellite imagery shows a remarkably well-organized system, a nearly symmetrical eye surrounded by a dense circular shield of extremely cold cloud tops. That structure is a hallmark of a very powerful hurricane with a tightly wound inner core. To put this in context, less than 2 days ago, Melissa was still a tropical storm. Since then, we've seen explosive strengthening. According to the latest data from the National Hurricane Center, Melissa has maximum sustained winds of approximately 145 miles per hour, with gusts nearing 170 miles per hour around the eye wall. The storm is moving slowly towards the west, which is one of the most concerning elements of this situation. Outer rain bands are already moving into eastern Jamaica, producing steady rainfall. But because the storm is nearly stationary, Jamaica will remain beneath these rain bands for a prolonged period of time, increasing the risk of catastrophic rainfall totals. Central and eastern Jamaica, as well as western Haiti, could see 30 to 40 inches of rainfall, and in isolated areas in Jamaica could see up to 50 inches of rainfall, especially in the mountainous terrain. That amount of rainfall is capable of producing life-threatening flash flooding and dangerous landslides, particularly across the mountainous regions. Our forecast now calls for Melissa to likely reach Category 5 strength later tonight or early tomorrow. A landfall in Jamaica is expected late Monday into early Tuesday, followed by a secondary landfall across Cuba later Tuesday into Wednesday, and potentially a third landfall in the Bahamas thereafter. The key development today is the shift in Melissa's track. The core of the storm, which is the region where the strongest winds and storm surge reside, is now projected to pass closer to Jamaica than earlier forecasts suggested. If this trend continues, the severity of impacts across the island will be greater than originally anticipated. Hurricane Melissa is a Category 4 storm, as you can see here. Wind speed of 145 miles per hour, maximum wind gusts of 165 to 170 miles per hour. The movement is west at 5 miles per hour, so basically this system is stationary at the moment. And the minimum central pressure is 933 millibars. Moving forward just a little bit, it looks like at 2 a.m. it should be a Category 4 storm, reaching almost Category 5 there, 155 miles per hour, maximum wind gusts of 190 miles per hour. It's definitely crazy to see. Now we move into 2 p.m. tomorrow. Looks like Melissa will be a Category 5 by this point. The sustained wind speed will be 165 miles per hour. Max wind gusts will be 195 miles per hour. We could possibly see wind gusts over 200 with this storm. Moving on into 2 a.m. This would be into Tuesday. This would be a Category 5 hurricane. Still 160 mile per hour winds, max wind gusts of 195. Again, we could see 200 mile per hour wind gusts coming into Jamaica, unfortunately. And then as this system passes right over Jamaica, we're going to see a Category 4 hurricane, 130 mile per hour winds, max wind gusts of 160 miles per hour. So this is the 28th, so this would be Tuesday. So that would be at 2 p.m. And then the passage between Cuba, Jamaica, heading up there, it looks like Hurricane Melissa will be a Category 3, so weakened slightly. This will be 2 a.m. So this would be October 29th, so that would be Wednesday morning. So Category 3 storm, 120 mile per hour winds, maximum wind gusts of 150 miles per hour. After impacting the terrain here in Cuba, Melissa will be downgraded to a Category 2. This would be on Wednesday at 2 p.m. So maximum sustained winds of 105 miles per hour, maximum wind gusts of 125 miles per hour. And then as Melissa starts to move up a little bit, basically heading into the Bahama region, heading up into the Atlantic, we're going to see Category 1. This would be on Thursday at 2 p.m. 90 mile per hour sustained winds, 115 mile per hour gusts. And then heading up towards the Bermuda area, we're going to see 80 mile per hour winds, maximum wind gusts of 100 miles per hour. So this would be a Category 1 storm. All right, so I want to take a look at the HAFSA model for Hurricane Melissa. This is available at tropicaltidbits.com. So the HAFS is the next generation hurricane model developed by NOAA in partnership with the university research community. This actually became operational in mid-2023 for the Atlantic Basin. It's part of the broader unified forecast system framework and uses high resolution storm following nest and ocean coupling designed to better capture tropical cyclone structure and intensification tracks. So I like to look at the HAFSA, which is the global version for all basins. So this uses a high-resolution grid nested and moving with the storm, so it can zoom in on the eye wall, convection, and other small-scale processes better than older models. This also integrates ocean coupling, so the feedback between the storm and the sea surface is more realistic, and it has improved physics as well for things like ice, rain, cloud microphysics, which are very important for intensity changes and rapid intensification. In retrospective testing, the model showed improvements, which is very interesting. So it has a 10 to 15% improvement in track and intensity forecast versus older models 3 to 5 days out. That's exactly why I want to show you this particular model. Since Melissa appears to be intensifying rapidly and exhibits strong internal structure, and what I mean by that is well-defined eye, symmetric convection, things like that. This is exactly the kind of scenario where this model, the higher resolution of this model in advanced physics can definitely shine. So this is going to capture rapid intensification, eye wall formation, things like that. So although improved, this is still relatively new operationally. It definitely performs in all categories of storms, especially near coast landfalls, complex interactions. It's not yet perfect, but the rapid intensification remains one of the most challenging phenomena to forecast accurately. Even this model may still struggle a little bit with the timing and magnitude of intensification, especially when multiple complicating factors are involved, such as ocean feedbacks, land interaction, shear. But track forecasts, while improving, still carry uncertainty, so structural changes, steering currents, interaction with land, and other systems can shift the outcome. But some research does show that while the HAFS is very good, not one model is consistent. But this is one that I've noticed that has basically been beating all the other models. So just to show you, so let's go into, let's head into Monday here. As the storm actually goes a little bit more west, we're going to see it's going to start taking that northeasterly turn heading into Jamaica here. And it does look like the maximum central pressure bottoms out at 905 millibars. This would bring it pretty close to some of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes we've ever seen on record. And unfortunately, this is definitely a Category 5 storm as it comes in. And it looks like it's going to impact the central coastline here of Jamaica at 910 millibars. So there's going to be a little bit, I wouldn't say weakening. It's most likely going to broaden its wind field a little bit. It's going to get a little bit stronger. So we're going to have to watch out for sustained winds of possibly 180 mile per hour. And we could also see wind gusts of 210, possibly 215 miles per hour. So this is going to be a very, very difficult, drastic situation for the island of Jamaica. Now, as the storm crosses over Jamaica, it's going to go back out into open waters before impacting Cuba. This looks like 932 millibars. So yes, it did weaken, most likely to a little bit of the terrain interaction, and also have to be careful with that weakening word because it does seem that the wind field is going to expand on this as it keeps going northward. And right before it impacts Cuba, you can see that the storm definitely grows in size at 937 millibars. And unfortunately, the terrain here, fortunately or unfortunately, is going to rip the storm apart a little bit. But it's going to act like a moisture sponge, and it's going to wring out all this rainfall, especially when it goes over the mountainous terrain in Jamaica, and then when it goes over into Cuba as well. In Jamaica, we could actually see rainfall totals in isolated areas of up to 50 inches. We're going to have to watch that carefully. It's a life-threatening situation. As this passes into right off the coast of Cuba there into Wednesday, the central pressure goes up to about 966 millibars. And as this system continues on out, you can see that it expands very, very intensely, unfortunately. So this wind field is going to expand. The outer bands are going to expand away from that. So it's going to become a pretty broad storm. And although this isn't going to impact the land mass here in the United States, it's definitely going to cause some rip currents. So the surf is going to be high. So please be careful if you guys are heading out to the beaches there. Now, we need to talk about the rainfall threat from Hurricane Melissa, and this is where the situation becomes especially dangerous. The latest 4-day rainfall forecast from the National Hurricane Center highlights an extreme rainfall maximum focused directly on Jamaica, where totals could reach 30 inches or more, with localized amounts possibly approaching 40 inches in the higher terrain. Melissa is moving very slowly, and that slow motion allows heavy rain bands to train repeatedly over the same areas. When you combine that kind of persistent tropical moisture with Jamaica's steep mountainous terrain, particularly along the Blue Mountains and John Crow Mountains in the east, the rainfall is forced upslope and squeezed out more efficiently. That dramatically increases the intensity of rainfall totals, leading to a high risk of life-threatening flash flooding and landslides. Even areas away from the mountains, including Kingston, Spanish Town, and the Rio Cobra and Rio Minho River basins, are at risk of major flooding due to runoff moving rapidly out of the highlands. As Melissa slowly tracks northward, the heavy rainfall threat then shifts into southeastern Cuba, where the Sierra Maestra Mountains rises sharply near the coast. I apologize if I butcher the names a little bit. This region is notorious for rapid runoff when tropical rainfall interacts with steep slopes, and totals of 8 to 16 inches with isolated 20-inch amounts are expected. The urban corridor around Santiago de Cuba and the surrounding foothill communities will need to be especially cautious. Western Haiti is also in a dangerous position. The mountainous southern peninsula, including the Massif de la Selle and Massif de la Haute, is extremely landslide prone, especially in areas where deforestation has reduced hillside stability. Even if Haiti sees only 8 to 12 inches of rain, the combination of steep terrain and loose soil makes flash flooding and mudslides very likely. So the map you see here also indicates a small pocket of where 16 inches or more may fall, which would be catastrophic in that terrain. Further north, the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos are included in the hatch zone of lower confidence because the exact track of Melissa later this week is still uncertain. However, if the core of Melissa or one of its inner rain bands passes directly over any of these islands, isolated totals of 12 to 16 inches or more are possible. These islands are generally low-lying, so even moderate rainfall can lead to rapid flash flooding in urban areas, streets, and drainage basins. So the key message is this, folks. Jamaica is at the highest risk for catastrophic flooding, especially across the southeast and mountainous interior where rainfall could reach truly extreme levels. Cuba and Haiti face serious flood and landslide risk as well as the storm continues, and the Bahamas could see significant impacts depending on the exact track. So if you live in these regions, now is the time to prepare, secure your property, and follow guidance from your local meteorological services. We also need to talk about the rip current danger along the U.S. coastline associated with the broader ocean swell field being generated by Hurricane Melissa, along with the other ongoing weather systems as well. Even though Melissa is still well south in the Caribbean, the ocean does not wait for the storm to arrive. Swell from the powerful hurricanes can travel hundreds and even thousands of miles, and that energy is already reaching the coastline. The National Hurricane Center latest rip current risk outlook shows a long stretch of the southeastern United States coastline marked in red, indicating a high risk of life-threatening rip currents. This includes much of the east coast of Florida, extending up through Georgia and the Carolinas, and into parts of Virginia and the Outer Banks as well. These red zones mean that swimming conditions are dangerous for everyone, including strong swimmers. So rip currents can form suddenly, pull swimmers away from the shore very quickly, and often difficult to spot from the beach. Areas shaded in yellow represent a moderate risk where rip currents are possible at any time, especially near piers, jetties, or where waves break unevenly. Even in these zones, conditions can escalate without warning. Those along the Gulf Coast, as well as which include Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and all the way over into Alabama and the Florida Panhandle should use extreme caution here, particularly during periods of onshore flow or long period swells. And this includes the white and gray areas as well. These represent the low risk zones or locations without sufficient beach forecast data. But even in those areas, the message here still remains the same. The ocean is powerful, folks. Always follow postings from local lifeguards and heed any posted red or double red flags. When the flags are up, especially the double red flag indicating the water is closed to the public, do not attempt to swim. The key takeaway from this is that you do not need to be near the hurricane to feel its effects. The surf and long period swell Melissa is generating can create dangerous currents along the United States coastline well before the storm itself gets anywhere near the region. If you're planning a beach trip over the next several days, especially along the southeast or eastern seaboard, definitely check your local beach conditions, respect the posted warnings, and when in doubt, please stay out of the water. Now, in summary, let me explain exactly what's expected, where the most dangerous conditions will occur, and what actions need to be taken right now. First, let's talk about Jamaica. The message could not be clearer, folks. Seek shelter now. Damaging winds and extremely heavy rainfall are already underway and will intensify tonight through Monday. This is expected to produce catastrophic, life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides, especially across the mountainous terrain where water accelerates downslope very quickly. Power outages, communication interruptions, washed out bridges, and blocked roadways are likely. Some communities may become isolated for a long period of time. Along the southern coast of Jamaica, life-threatening storm surge and large pounding waves are expected Monday night and Tuesday morning. Conditions will worsen rapidly. Next, let's look at Haiti as well, and the Dominican Republic. Southwestern Haiti and the southern portion of the Dominican Republic are facing catastrophic flooding and landslides through midweek. Even areas that have seen a temporary decrease in winds will see those winds return and strengthen as Melissa shifts northward. The rugged terrain of southwestern Haiti, where slopes are steep and vegetation is limited in many areas, is extremely vulnerable to mudslides and fast-moving floodwaters. Communities may experience isolation, major damage to infrastructure, and hazardous travel conditions. Next, let's talk about eastern Cuba. The southern coastline of eastern Cuba needs to be preparing right now. Life-threatening storm surge, damaging winds, and extremely heavy rainfall are expected late Tuesday and Wednesday. The Sierra Maestra mountain range in the region forces moisture upward, dramatically increasing rainfall totals and the flash flooding risk. Landslides and severe flash flooding are likely in mountainous communities and valleys where rivers respond quickly to heavy rainfall. Preparations here must be completed as soon as possible. And lastly, we'll talk about the southeast Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. Those islands need to monitor Melissa very closely. As the hurricane moves north, there is a growing potential for damaging winds, storm surge, and very heavy rainfall Tuesday and Wednesday. Watches will likely be issued soon, and those in the Bahamas should take early steps to prepare while time remains. So thank you guys so much for joining me in this update. Please subscribe if you haven't already and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next briefing. We are closing in on 11,000 subscribers, and that's absolutely incredible, folks. Thank you for being a part of this community. Now, also, I have 2 children's coloring books available on Amazon. Not only are they great educational and family-friendly books, but the proceeds will help keep World Weather Authority running, and 10% of all revenue will be donated to my local church to support community outreach and care. Links in the description. Now, I'd like to close us in prayer, folks. Heavenly Father, we come before you today asking for protection over every person who is in the path of this storm. Lord, you are our refuge and our strength, a present help in the time of trouble. We ask that you place a shield of safety around the families in Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and the Bahamas. Guide the hands of those preparing, strengthen the hearts of those who are afraid, and comfort the ones who feel alone. Let communities come together with compassion, patience, and courage. We ask for wisdom for leaders, for rescue teams, for meteorologists, and emergency workers, that every single decision would be guided by clarity and peace. Calm the winds where you will, Lord, and steady our spirits in the midst of uncertainty. We thank you for your presence, your mercy, and your love that never fails. In Yeshua's name we pray, amen. God bless you all. I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay prepared, and stay encouraged. Never stop chasing.